This past few weeks, I've been talking about what it's like to live in Vietnam. We've talked about teaching and other types of work in Vietnam. And I've also touched on the idea of how you can stay in Vietnam long term without even having to teach or work. And finally, we've talked about how amazing Vietnam is to visit, but we've also talked about how much this place absolutely sucks. And today I want to finish this whole series off by talking about how I did good in Vietnam despite the low motivation and the lack of community. So let's go over how I did that and how I lifted two separate companies in Vietnam, not being a local citizen and having a lack of resources that a traditional Vietnamese or big corporation would have had. So the first thing we have to talk about is the obvious one, mindset. In 2015, I moved to Vietnam from America, where typically people live day to day, not really thinking about the future. And this isn't just a problem that was happening with Vietnamese. This is something that happened with people that were coming to Vietnam, that weren't citizens, that were backpackers, they were teachers, they were retiring out here. And this really put me in a position where I was kind of alone. And the most common thing I was told, especially by Western people, was like, David, just go get an extra teaching job so you got money for this weekend's beer pub run on Bui Vinh. And sadly, this was the route that I took a little too many times. And that was just simply because we are kind of a reflection of the people that are around us. And I was surrounded by teachers, Westerners, backpackers, and retired people. And in the sum of it all, I'm glad I quit drinking. Yeah, I do miss the fun, the friends, and the experiences, but there was more negative and bad things that came from it, for me at least, than there were positives. But this isn't about drinking, so let's move forward. Now, if you've seen my videos back in 2015, when I was still in America, I was sitting in my apartment back then, and I was talking to a camera. I think it was like an iPod Touch or something like that. But you'll notice one thing is I was always talking about starting up businesses and how can I long-term my life and be independent in a foreign country. My mind was always in the right spot. But I never realized in that moment, watching that video a couple of days ago, is I was walking into a very steep uphill battle. But that didn't stop me. In 2016, I started the first of two of my English centers that I opened in Vietnam. And it wasn't that hard. I had the connections I needed. I had the money that I needed. And I knew what needed to be done. I was lucky though. If it wasn't for my business partner at the time, I probably would have given up. Now, if you've opened a company in Vietnam, you have to have a Vietnamese counterpart to open up a legal company in Vietnam. From day one, they were always pushing me. They held me accountable. And it really kept me moving forward through the corruption and the nonsense and the bureaucratic BS that I had to go through to get this school open. But when I would talk to Western people about this, being other teachers, I knew a bunch of retiree business owners, like bar owners and Vung Tao and stuff. It was always the same response from all of them. Yo, this is stupid. This is a communist country. You're just going to fail. You're going to waste your money. Just go get an extra teaching job, cover some hours, and just save up the money and go take a trip to Cambodia. But the thing was, I didn't want to teach other classes. I was literally, after the first year of teaching in Vietnam, I was done with it. And it wasn't that I hated teaching. It was I was tired of this system. You work hour after hour teaching kids a foreign language or math or science. And at the end of it all, the counterpart just gives them a fake grade, lies to them, and then advances them to the next level. So I wanted to help improve education. And after I set up everything, we got the building, we set the classrooms, got the programs and everything, we ran strong for 18 months, dominating the area. My business partner was a key part of why the business was successful because they were motivated, they weren't sleeping 11, they weren't on Facebook all day, they weren't taking pictures of everything we ate. But either way, the school itself, after 18 months, it got noticed by a very large school in the north, which offered us a payout to buy the program, to buy the name, and to buy my time. But I wasn't feeling the teaching, and I kind of knew where the school was going to go if a Vietnamese counterpart took it over. So I kind of passed on the third option, took the first two options. We agreed on a new buy price, and we cashed out. And this is what made me sit down and really think about the people around me. Did they help me, or were they holding me down? Was I living in this like crabs in a bucket theory where every time one of us did good, everyone else is pulling us down? And I didn't restrict this. And I want to say family is an interesting one. And you hear the same thing in Vietnam where the cousins, the uncles will screw over the grandparents or something like that. This stuff happens. And I know the idea of blood is thicker than water. I get it. But I had to make decisions that would help improve me and the people around me. So I didn't hold back. I reevaluated friends, family, business partners, everybody. Like, I didn't just cut everybody out. I reduce exposure. I don't talk to some friends about investing in crypto and Fidelity stocks because they're always like, it's all a scam. Yeah. Meanwhile, they've been working 9 to 5 for 40 years. You have to really decide what you talk about to who. And this is a good way to understand who your inner circle should be. So I know this is easier said than done, but just sit down, write down everybody you know, everybody you communicate with, and just start writing the positives and the negatives of each. I mean, make a list of like the positives, they help me, they're motivating. The negatives are like, they're negative, they're always complaining, they're overweight and I want to be healthy, they're lazy. Whatever it is, and start finding out who is truly a benefit to your life and who isn't. And at the same time, if you're doing this, you're starting to give yourself a valuable person to your friends more, which could benefit them. So this is an all-around win-win. When you start becoming more successful because you put yourself around more motivating, like-minded people, those people are going to come back around when they realize, holy shit, David's killing it. I had people in Vietnam ask me, hey, can you help me get a work permit? Can you give me extra hours? Like, they became faithful friends all of a sudden. So keep that in mind. Anyways, let's get down to the next one. Overcoming actual failure. I think personally, failure is one of the coolest things, and 98% of the world sees it as a problem. So if I fail, if something breaks up my system or my actions to move forward, or I personally just screw up everything, then I sit down, I talk to my inner circle of people, I fix my mindset, I figure it out, I fix the problem, or I find out maybe, hey, this is just a stupid idea, I'm not going to do it. If you have your mindset on point and you evaluate, you have good people around you that are supportive in a positive way. Even if your idea is stupid, they're like, David, this isn't going to work and this is why. You have to stop this. Stop it. That is what I needed. I didn't need teachers saying, dude, just go get some extra teaching hours, bro. Get some money. We're hitting Bouyvin this weekend. That's not what I needed. And worst of all, don't be that person that gets angry. They make excuses for whatever it is. They throw everything away and they just give everything up altogether. It's stupid to me. Like, if you have this huge project that has like 20 different like steps in it and one of them just doesn't work, you throw away all 20 of them. To me, that's stupid. Fix the one, right? Remember I told you about the school I sold, and it went good, but it also went bad. And when it went bad, a lot of the people around me, wasn't in the inner circle, but around me, they would just lie to me like, dude, we told you, bro. We told you this was going to happen. But oddly enough, when it finally went good, we were getting in our first like 7-8 months, teaching was going well, classes were filling up, we were being talked about all over. These same people were coming back. Hey, can you help me with a work permit? Hey, can you give me some extra teaching hours? My school's cut my hours. Hey, shut up. And it wasn't just me getting this. My Vietnamese partner was starting to have family demand money from them. They wanted free classes all the time because they were entitled. And if they refused, they would get on Facebook and they start insulting our company. So you can always find a way to work with it, but when it comes to like people attacking you when things go bad, it's not just the Westerners, it's not just the Vietnamese, it's not just friends, it's also family. So to be ready for it is a good thing. To have a counter turn to it is a good thing. We didn't give up. We found out how to leverage it. And I even pushed this idea of failure with our classes, which was kind of a crazy thing. My school defied the logics of traditional education. We failed people on tests. Unheard of in Vietnam. Every school damn near has a 98%, 99% pass ratio. It's not real. And the reason for this is these schools want to be successful schools. So you have to give out passing grades. You have to make up stupid excuses to suck 3 more months out of these people in prepayments and say that they're improving and doing better, and then give them like a fake IELTS exam saying, hey, look, they got a 7.0, but they can't say hello. I gave honest feedback to the students. I gave honest grades to students. I didn't pass people that didn't earn a good grade. I'm not going to give you a certification in English under my government stamp when you didn't pass. And so what I ended up doing was doing this like pre-final exam, where a week before we would give out like this pre-exam and give a pre-certification. And I would fail people on this, I would pass people on this, and we'd give out good feedback like, hey, study this, figure out this, yada, yada, yada. And it allowed them the opportunity to be like, hey, I'm not going to pass this final, I should study. And their mindset, the students, changed, and they started realizing, oh shit, like I need to figure this out or I'm going to fail. The response wasn't what any of us really expected. They started learning more about the test and how they can pass this as they were seriously trying to win, which was an awesome thing, which made the school something that no other English center had in the area. Was we weren't selling fake grades. We were selling real results. And that's what we really built up on. Now, we talk about the inner circle, and I was lucky I had a good business partner. I had some good friends that helped me with feedback. They're like, David, you're crazy for this idea. Have we thought about this? If you're in a position where you don't have anything, I have a solution for you. It's called AI. There's so many of these online. Use them. And I'll tell you, many times I get into deep conversations with like ChatGPT on my business ideas. Like we'll be going back and forth. We'll fight over stuff. And I'll even start insulting ChatGPT if it starts giving me stupid answers or things that I just don't like. It's kind of funny, but it's sad at the same time. I don't know. I was typically like, that's a stupid idea. Why would you even say that? Or that's not going to work in this culture, this idea. That's stupid. And it would get offended. It would be like, hey, that's rude. Or, I get that flag saying what I typed in was offensive and it broke guidelines. So when it comes to AI, treat it like staff. And I don't mean insult it and call it names and attack it. No, not at all. I mean as in if you give staff a task, a job, and they bring back subpar results, question it. Be like, no, this isn't good enough. Or why didn't you do it like this? It'll give you different ideas. And then you'll see something else. Question it back and forth. There's times I'll have 2 or 3 hour conversations with GPT until I get a final product that works. And the best part about this is while you're talking to it, and I've had this happen a few times, if your idea just sucks, ChatGPT might take you in that direction, say, hey, this might not be the best idea. Have you considered other things? Whatever the case is, if you don't have the inner circle for the feedback, use AI. So set your goals, get the feedback, be it through actual people or AI, and get motivated and get it done. And speaking of motivation, let's talk about that because motivation is kind of a weird one. There really is no single motivation that keeps people going. Things change, life changes, goals change, we get bored, we get excited, dopamine is up and down. We all go through that, and that changes motivation very fast. And for me, I've always found motivation is having a strong inner circle. I know I keep going back to this, but truly having good people around you that are somewhat like-minded or at least motivated to be successful is always a huge thing to have. And when it comes to my goals, I always have goals that have meaning to me, that will bring me value when I complete them. And on top of that, breaking these 3 to 5 year goals down to mini goals that give me like daily or weekly, like mini rewards. So I feel that motivation, that dopamine, that, hey, I'm doing something right. And before we get out of here, because I know motivation is kind of an easy one, I want to talk about something that truly does motivate me, and that's anger. Anger is seriously one of the best motivators for, at least for men in general, if the anger is directed correctly. Like, for example, I used to get so angry when I lived in Vietnam. Like, I see people walking around picking their nose. They'd be peeing all over stuff in public. They'd have their shirt halfway up with like a 30-kilogram belly hanging out of it. But they would have like this Rolex and gold chains on them. And it would piss me off for like 3 or 4 days. Literally, this guy is a dork. But when I see people like this, I think to myself, why is this dork? Why does he have a better life than I do? And I know I work 100% harder than he does. I know I bring more value to other people than he ever could in his entire life. I've seen how a lot of these people live, and they just destroy people around them for personal gain. How are they doing better than me? And this is truly one of the biggest successful factors to me next to the inner circle that I have. I get home and I start working. And I used to have this phrase I used to say to myself that reminded me of why I was angry 2 hours ago. But I used to say this phrase, and it would just remind me of that dude or that girl or that group of people that I was just like, ugh, and I just get back to work. And when it comes to actually getting stuff done, the work, get the hard stuff done first. This is typically the stuff that has the most return, the most value, but requires the most energy and thought. Because if you have a list where it's a bunch of hard stuff and easy stuff, and all you do is the easy stuff and none of the hard stuff, you're kind of just doing mindless shit every day, right? Like, I have some goals that are like 200 push-ups every day and write my journal every day and check emails every day. If that's all I focused on and I didn't do the actual work itself, then I would just be an accountant. Yeah, that's not fun. So get the harder stuff done first. And on top of that list, don't create a huge list. I see so many people write this list of to-do things every day that hit their goal, where it's like 10 or 20 things on there, and like 8 or 9 of them are really hard things to do. And they leave them there. And they don't get them all done. They get like half of it done. And they're just like, it was too hard to do. I give up. And they just throw everything away. They just give up on everything. Make your goal, your list reasonable. Put the harder stuff first. Mix in some easy stuff in between so it's motivating. And have some mini rewards for the harder stuff you're doing every day. It's that easy. So in conclusion to all of this, build your inner circle. Be it family or friends. Make sure they're going to benefit what you're trying to do. And make sure you can benefit them. They should hold high standards for their quality of life, as well as they should hold high standards for the quality of life of their friends and the people they're around. And you should do the same with them. This is a strong inner circle that will benefit you. And if you can't find this, just use AI. When it comes to motivation, get your goals. Write down your big ones, your small ones. Don't write out ridiculous stuff. 5 or 6 things a day should be enough. Don't write a to-do list of 50 things to do. And be angry and use that anger for your energy. So start today, evaluate who your inner circle is, friends, family, associates, all that stuff. Evaluate and find out who you should keep close, who you should kind of distance, and where you should put them. And once you get that, set your achievable goals. Make sure they have value to you. Just setting random goals like I'm going to clean the wall, that doesn't value you. That values the owner of the house. And know what you're going to do the day before. So when you wake up, you know exactly what needs to be done. I wake up at 5 every morning and I do 200 push-ups. That's what I do. Then I check emails. That's what I do. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I don't wake up and hey, what do I do now? Never that. So with that being said, I'm going to leave you with this phrase that I read a long time ago that really sticks well even today. There is a difference between broke and poor. Poor is someone that lives in a third world country that has no access to the outside world or any way to build wealth or get out of poverty. Broke is someone living anywhere in a third or first world country that has access to the internet, a phone, and a functional mind that refuses to get out of poverty.